Now, the good people of Margate were treated to the UKIP Spring Conference at the weekend. It brought some grey-haired folk into the town. The appeal of UKIP is higher among the old than the rest of the population. But be careful of generalisations, because also present in Margate was the party's youth wing, Young Independents. It's been growing very far over the last year, now amounting to nearly 3,000 members, or 10% of the party's membership. Lewis Goodall spent the weekend with them.
Thank goodness for the M2 motorway. We can't wait to get to Margate. Well, this is how some people go.
The jewel of the Kent coast. Time was when Margate, not Malaga, attracted legions of Britain's holidaymakers.
Inside the Winter Gardens, one of the biggest events of the year is underway.
This weekend, the town swapped the tourists for the UKIP Spring Conference. In amongst the old war horses is Young Independents, the party's youth wing. They're giving up their weekend to campaign for the cause. Why would any self-respecting young firebrand volunteer for this, the most elderly of parties? And who exactly are they?
I'm a son of a milkman who's son of a miner. I'm from a, staunch Labour, working class family.
My dad is a staunch Labour man. He spent much of his life voting Labour. I mean, it's an uphill struggle to talk to him about it. My mum is the typical floating voter. I was a Liberal Democrat member when I was 16 years old. I was on literature and I worked very hard for the party. I canvassed. Their coalition with the Conservative Party was something that I was adamantly against. And it was also their reneging on a promise to every single one of this. They made me a liar when I was 16 years old. I went out there, campaigned and said to all of my peers and to my family, to my friends, said, free tuition fees, vote the Liberal Democrats. They didn't deliver it. And they don't deserve my vote anymore, and that moved me away drastically. It actually made me disenfranchised with politics for a long time.
The problem with Parliament, it's not legally binding, so I could elect Joe Bloggs as our MP, and he will fight for this certain issue, but straight away when he gets into Parliament, he changes his mind, and there's nothing, we can't hold him to account.
I was born and grew up in the Welsh Valleys. I studied English at university. And since then I've mostly worked in administrative roles in the NHS. I was a Conservative when I was younger. I've always been quite politically engaged, and feeling like I didn't have a party that really represented me and I wanted to support was very frustrating. So realising that there was a party that truly did represent what I believed in, and I really wanted to go and do activism, I wanted to get involved, that was a really, really positive realisation for me. The fact that we're, the fastest growing youth wing of any political party, I think speaks volumes for how we are actually starting to engage with people. We're getting people from left, we're getting people from right, all different issues are just drawing people into us and sort of, I think it's making an impact.
I'm Joshua Hughes, I'm from Gravesend, I'm standing for local council in the Central Ward, and I'm 19 years old, a member of UKIP. My nan on my father's side from Iraq, and her family came over in the 50s. I think they're great examples of how immigrants should be. Coming over here, learning the language, going to school, getting an education, working hard.
So what was it specifically which drew you to UKIP?
Too many of the other parties have given us false hope, and I think a lot of people have a deep mistrust in those parties. Also, UKIP, many of our spokespeople have either never gone to university, haven't come from a very rich background, they're average, normal people.
What we all have in common is that we want to see real change. We don't like the way the political system in this country is run. We don't, all of us have felt let down by the other political parties, and in UKIP we see something positive and we see hope.
Yeah,
we do offer.
We offer a future. We offer a future filled with optimism, progression, jobs and enjoyment.
So youth unemployment, was that an issue which drew you to the party?
Even myself applying for jobs, typical sales assistant, that sort of thing, low paid, low skilled, because I'm only young. And you find that you go in there a few months later, don't get a reply often, go in there a few months later, and you find people who hardly speak the language. And I think we should be put first because it is our country. We live here, we're born and bred here, and we don't want to be unemployed.
And what about immigration?
I think it should probably be around the 50,000 mark. I think 50,000 net is manageable. We've done it in the past. We were quite successful in the 50s, 60s and 70s of having migration between 40 and 60,000. immigration is like, in recent years when I was growing up, it was like the unspoken thing that you didn't talk about. And, you know, I've seen friends that can't get jobs, you know, because their wages have been suppressed on building sites and they're being undercut.
Do people ever say to you, look, you're young, you should be left-wing and idealistic? What on earth are you doing in UKIP?
I mean, I was a Tory at university and I got enough stick for that, and now I'm UKIP and I get a lot of grief for that as well. But, you know, a lot of my friends disagree with me, but they can respect my politics and they might be interested in it, or they might just say, stop talking about politics, I don't want to hear about it.
I've had a lot of arguments with friends and people who I've had to delete off Facebook or have deleted myself or things like that. I just don't talk to anymore because of it. It's sad, but it's how it is. You know, only a few months ago I had one who said, look, you're a great guy, which I appreciate. I've got nothing against you. Just don't want my timeline and my feeds polluted with your stuff with UKIP. In 20, 30 years' time, UKIP and Nigel Farage are going to be the subjects of people's degrees and A-levels in history. That is it, and I'd like to think I'm part of that history as well.
Well, I am not just saying this because we're on TV. I mean it. You know, we're talking, of course, with the Marmite Party. Of course we are.
How? Why are you the Marmite Party?
Because we're offering real change, and people like, you know, the problem is the Conservatives and the Labour, they like this cosy politics, they like this establishment politics. We want to shake up the system, yes, and we want to change it, and it is radical, and it's fun, and it's exciting, and it's against the grain, and that's, you know, I shave backwards sort of thing, you know, it's that sort of laugh, you know.
Two of the truisms of modern politics are that the working class are disenfranchised and the young are uninterested. Who'd have thought that for a growing minority of Britain's youth, it would be UKIP which provides a remedy for both?